Alright, let's get down to brass tacks. Yellow is for residential, red is for commercial, green is for green space. This is vastly superior to this 90% of the time. You can go now. By far the most disastrous, nonsensical, and irresponsible aspect of suburban-style development is the complete separation of people from the services they use. So many problems, be it the traffic and excessive vehicle emissions, the money down the drain on cars, houses needing copious amounts of space for driveways, businesses needing even more copious amounts of space for parking lots, and suburbs lacking a sense of community, all stem in large part from the fact that we now tend to build humongous, homogeneous housing developments in one area and humongous, homogeneous business plazas in another area, usually on the other side of a massive highway. This kind of zoning, often referred to as Euclidean zoning, began as a way to ensure people didn't live too close to the hazards posed by things like industrial factories. In other words, separate people from their workplaces. It made sense to get people far away from the fumes, soot, and machinery of steel mills and the like. But we are no longer in the thick of the Industrial Revolution, and our zoning should reflect that. The extent to which we have accommodated this kind of development is actually hilarious. We build enormous, elaborate freeways, parking garages, and excessively wide roads, all to allow us to live really far away from buildings we ourselves constructed and need to get to. It's a great example of how thinking big isn't as good as thinking smart. Instead of this horribly expensive and unpleasant infrastructure, we should just allow smaller-scale commercial operations to be dotted throughout the places that people actually live. This way, the average distance from a given household to a given service is greatly reduced. Ideally, this distance equates to a 10 to 15 minute walk for 90% of people in a city. For the times when you really do need to get to a commercial node that is more than 15 minutes of walking, public transit should do the trick. This mixed-use, heterogeneous development pattern is by far the most powerful tool for building walkable, environmentally friendly, socially cohesive cities. It also does something else very powerful. It gives people more choice. Each of these commercial nodes will, in reality, be slightly different than one another. Let's say this red area is a bit of a hub for tech startups, and the purple area is known for its amazing sushi, and the blue area has a massive football stadium at its core. Let's also say there is a hypothetical person who is hoping to work for a tech startup and also has a particular fondness of sushi. Preposterous scenario, I know, but let's be imaginative here. If this person is completely uninterested in watching football, then they can take that into consideration by trying to live over here. Someone else who likes football and steak might choose to live over here. I know I'm simplifying things, but you get the point. Just a quick interjection here to say that in my line video, I claimed on screen that the area of a circle is 4 pi r squared by accident. This is reason enough to unsub from my channel and never come back here again. I do beg your forgiveness. But if you are enjoying the video, consider expressing yourself by liking and subscribing. Also, check out Alan Fisher's videos on urbanism. He's much more knowledgeable and way funnier than I am. Anyway, when everyone lives in one place and all of the commercial activity is in another place, there simply isn't a whole lot of leeway to optimize your living situation based on your preferences. You know you are going to have to go to the massive shopping plaza for most of your things anyway, so why not just purchase a car and commit to the communal commute? Just for some proof of concept, this is an actual zoning map of Toronto, Canada. I'll keep it brief, but the reddish color indicates a commercial residential zone. Essentially mixed use, an area where people are allowed to both live and provide services. The yellow zone is called R1 zoning. It means single-family residential only. As you can see, R1 zoning completely dwarfs the mixed-use zoning in square area by like a factor of 10. This particular distribution is actually not too bad, however, because the mixed-use zones sort of form a network throughout the single-family zones. I simply propose that these networks of red should be far more extensive and far more common across cities, like this. What's far more likely to be the case in any North American city built mostly after the 1960s is something that looks like this. This is Toronto's next-door neighbor, the city of Mississauga. This map should make your eyes fall out. It's a sea of yellow, and there are like 750,000 people that live here. The only mixed-use zoning is here in purple. The gray zone is called industrial commercial, which looks about as pleasant as it sounds. For those of you out there who think this is just some sort of utopian pipe dream, it totally isn't. This is how communities were built for centuries. If you have ever salivated over the beauty, charm, and liveliness of European cities, or even just older parts of North American cities, I can assure you that mixed-use development is part of the reason why. The zoning layout is what enables these charming streets to exist. Unfortunately, this kind of zoning is so ingrained in North American planning that it seems to run through some people's veins now. There is so much pushback against attempts at mixed-use development from people who resent the idea of anything commercial in their neighborhood. In some respects, these people are right to be scared of commercial development nearby. Their idea of commercial development might be something reminiscent of this: a massive footprint warehouse with an absolute unit of a parking lot outside, which will inevitably create lots of noise and fumes because it caters to cars, not people on foot. I don't want anything like that near me either. What we need to get our heads around is the smaller scale stuff. One great advantage of building on smaller scale is that it actually becomes easier to integrate a diversity of services within a given area. Let's take Kingston, Ontario, for example. In the older portion of the city, there are non-residential buildings dotted throughout what is otherwise single-family homes, some of which are probably converted into apartments. This here is a restaurant or pub in the middle of a quaint neighborhood. It doesn't disrupt the character of the neighborhood at all. It's a pretty modest building which houses a pretty modest operation. The people in this neighborhood have easy access to a local business. The money they spend stays in the local economy. If this is a pub, it might serve as a social anchor point the way they often do in the UK and Europe. Anyways, the best part of this? Patrons from the neighborhood never have to worry about a designated driver. Everyone there can become as intoxicated as they are comfortable with, provided they can keep relatively quiet on the nice walk home. A few blocks away from a business like this are houses like this. The lawn isn't obnoxious, there isn't a tarmac of driveway out front, but it's also not a colossal condo tower like in Vancouver or whatever. See, you need a certain minimum population density for places like the pub to survive, but it doesn't actually have to be that dense. If a pub doesn't want to have an on-site parking lot the size of a basketball court, then there needs to be a critical number of people nearby who can get there without a car. Medium density is clearly enough to get the job done. Also in the neighborhood is the beautiful and reasonably sized Rosemount Inn, which easily fits the character of the neighborhood. I believe this is an example of Italianate architecture, by the way, which is a personal favorite. Another minute or two of walking and you're here. This is a public school for kids from kindergarten to grade 8. See, it's not just businesses that should be dotted throughout residences, but services too. I'm willing to bet that a lot of these kids can just walk to school, something that gives them confidence and autonomy, but also a sense of place. The fact that their school is in this neighborhood shows them that this city belongs to them, too. And that is really the spirit of mixed-use development. Sharing space with people who might be different than us. Maybe they're different in age or socioeconomic status or whatever it is. I really believe that sharing space goes a long way in building a sense of community and a sense of empathy among neighbors. When people fear commercial enterprises being built nearby, they are probably worried about the noise and commotion of things like nightclubs and manufacturing centers. You definitely shouldn't be allowed to put a nightclub right next to someone's house without their consultation. But I think we can all agree that a quaint bed and breakfast, ou peut-être une petite boulangerie, won't rub anyone the wrong way. Something like a bakery would probably be closed in the evenings anyway, and who doesn't love the smell of fresh bread? Mixed-use development is the most important ingredient in creating walkability. Interestingly, there are groups of people who actually try to measure walkability. Just to clarify, this is genuinely not a paid advertisement. Walkscore.com is an amazing website that ranks how walkable a given area of a city is. I have honestly spent a copious amount of time on this website. I believe I'm correct in saying that it's mostly geared towards cities in North America. As we can see with Kingston, the old part of the city we were just in is remarkably more walkable than the newer development which now surrounds it, which is what you'll find in like 99% of North American cities. Anyway, I can't really think of an outro, so yeah, just like and subscribe. See you next time.